What if humans never learned to dream beyond survival? What if no rituals, no beliefs shaped our lives? Imagine living in a world where every day is only about food, shelter, and protection. How would humanity have survived without the comfort of faith or the strength of unity? The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the savannah. The wind stirred the tall grass, and the distant rumble of a thunderstorm warned of the storm's approach. Amidst the vast expanse, a group of Homo habilis moved silently across the landscape, their bodies bent low as they stalked their prey. There was no ceremony to mark the hunt, no sacred prayers offered for good fortune, just the raw, unflinching instinct for survival. A few hundred yards away, a herd of antelope grazed. The group, led by an older male, watched with keen eyes. Their tools, sharp-edged stones and wooden spears, were simple but effective. They didn't ask for the animals' cooperation. They only took what was needed, with no belief to guide them, no ritual to bind their actions. As the leader signaled the attack, the group scattered. The youngest member, a slender figure with a darting gaze, crouched low, gripping his spear tightly. There was no prayer, no chant, only a gut feeling honed by instinct that drove them forward. The moment was tense. Every muscle in the young hunter's body screamed for release. The prey was unaware of the danger, their focus solely on the grass and the task of grazing. The young hunter inched closer. His breath slowed, his mind sharpened. With a sudden burst of speed, he hurled his spear, its sharp stone tip gleaming in the fleeting sunlight. The spear found its mark. The antelope stumbled and the herd scattered, but the young hunter stood still. His heart raced, and for a moment there was nothing but the echo of his heartbeat in his ears. He had no words for what he felt, no beliefs to anchor the moment. It was simply what needed to be done. As the group approached the fallen animal, the older male knelt by its side. They did not celebrate. There were no songs or dances. They did not gather to reflect on the gift of life. The hunt was done, and the animal's body was a source of sustenance. This was survival, and survival alone. Yet, as the group moved forward, an unsettling feeling lingered in the air. The storm clouds had darkened, and the wind carried a new scent, one of danger. Without rituals to guide them, they relied on their senses, their instincts. It was then that a low growl rumbled from the distance. A massive saber-toothed tiger emerged from the tall grass, its yellow eyes locked onto the group. In that moment, there was no time for thought, no space for hesitation. They scattered, instinct kicking in. But there was no sacred bond to unite them, no guiding force beyond the raw need to survive. The young hunter found himself alone. His heart raced as he ran, his breath coming in ragged gasps. There was no prayer for protection, no belief in the power of the spirits. He was alone in the world, just a man running from a predator much stronger than himself. The young hunter's mind raced as he dashed through the grass, the sound of the predator's paws growing louder with each passing second. His heart pounded in his chest, and his muscles screamed for relief. But there was no time for weakness. The storm had grown closer, the first flashes of lightning illuminating the darkening sky. The thunder felt like the roar of the world itself, warning him of the coming doom. Without thinking, he ducked into a nearby cluster of rocks, his body pressed tightly against the cool stone. The saber-tooth's eyes scanned the open grassland, but it did not see him. It prowled, sniffing the air, its body coiled like a spring ready to strike. The young hunter's breath was shallow, his hands trembling not from fear, but from the weight of the moment. He was alone in the world, with nothing but his instincts to guide him. There was no elder to whisper wisdom, no sacred tradition to give him strength. This was the price of survival in a world without beliefs. It was simply him, the predator, and the fight for life. Minutes passed, though they felt like hours. The tiger finally moved away, its attention drawn to the sound of another creature in the distance. The young hunter remained perfectly still, watching the animal's retreating figure. But his heart did not slow. He knew that the hunt, the survival, was never truly over. In a world without rituals to comfort or protect him, he could never let his guard down. When the storm finally broke, it was as though the heavens themselves were unleashing their fury. The rain lashed at his face, the wind whipping through the trees. He didn't seek shelter. He didn't need to. There was no warmth in ritual, no safety in belief. He simply existed within the storm as it tore through the savannah, the earth beneath him trembling in response. The young hunter moved toward the rest of the group. He knew they would not look for him, not in the way a tribe bound by belief would. There was no ceremony for a lost member, no gathering of spirits to watch over him. His survival, his return, would be a matter of luck, and nothing more. When he finally reached the group, the others didn't speak. They didn't ask where he had been or how he had survived. They simply moved, without words, without gestures. They had hunted, they had fed, and now they would travel again, always moving, always searching for the next day. The group didn't pause to rest. The storm had passed, but the danger was not over. The young hunter's thoughts drifted to the predators that roamed the land, the other tribes who might encroach on their territory. Yet even in the face of such threats, there was no guiding belief to unify them, no sacred understanding that they were all in this together. It was just survival, no more, no less. They walked on moving as one, yet not united by any force stronger than the drive to survive. They did not speak to each other. They did not comfort one another. The lack of belief left them hollow in some ways, but also free. They were free to live, to take what they needed from the world, without the burden of rituals. Yet, there was something missing, no spiritual link to the land, no songs to carry them through hardship, no prayers for protection. As the day faded into night, the group set up camp in a narrow cave at the base of a rock formation. The stars above were cold and indifferent, offering no comfort or guidance. The young hunter lay awake, staring at the flickering shadows cast by the small fire. He thought of the storm, the predator, the hunt, and realized that in this world without belief, survival was the only constant. In the morning, they would rise as they always did. They would hunt, they would eat, and they would move on. But they would do it alone. No rituals, no faith. Just the raw drive to keep living. And that, in the end, was all they truly needed. The fire flickered low as the young hunter lay in silence, feeling the weight of his thoughts. The night was still, but the air was thick with the unsaid, the emptiness of a life driven solely by survival. No songs, no prayers. Just the sound of wind rustling through the dry grass outside and the occasional crackle from the fire. He wondered for a fleeting moment whether something had been lost, something essential. But the question slipped away, swallowed by the reality of the world they lived in. At dawn, the group moved again, as if the night's weight had never been felt. The land stretched before them, endless and indifferent. They would hunt, gather, and protect one another from the dangers of the wild. But even the sense of kinship they shared felt like an unspoken truth, something that happened not out of belief, but of need. The young hunter's thoughts drifted to the vastness of the land, the countless dangers and the predators that roamed it. He realized that without belief, they were creatures of the earth no different from the wild beasts they feared. They were animals driven by hunger, thirst, and the need to survive, but with no greater purpose to bind them together. And yet, there was something beautiful in their simplicity. In the end, they were nothing more than survivors wandering through a world that offered no promises. And for today, that was enough. That was